Okay, Gary in Ohio, this is your DX5000 Plus here, KPO. I'm going to go through it and set it up, and I'll chime in periodically and show you what we got going on. Alright, I'm in the service portion right now, so you can see it's AM. Doesn't matter what the indicator on the outside shows when you're in service mode, that takes precedence over the front control. So there's our transmit frequency right there, so it's really good. And I'm gonna move along here and get this one knocked out. Alright, so this radio should be adjustable on FM from 1 to 40, and it says AM 1 to 12. I'm going to make it 1 to 8. And then sideband, it's going to be very low output to, usually they're around 50 or so when I'm done with the alignment. Okay, so there's our 50 watt scale, and it's sitting right at 40 right there, so that's good for high power FM. Okay, the low power FM is 2 right now out of the factory. It's 2.5 or so, so I'm going to turn that down to 1. Seems like the factory is not reading what the manufacturer, the business, which would be KPO in this situation. Seems like the factory isn't listening to what they've requested in the manual, 1 to 40, because 2.5 isn't 1. So you'd rather have it be able to turn it down to 1. So that's going to be better there. That's a 5 watt scale also on that meter. You can see your transmit frequency still there, so it's really good. Alright, this is your AM power right now from the factory. Just to give you an idea really quick here too, we'll go to AM modulation low power, so I can show you, what it did before. It's kind of pathetic. Luckily, these radios have the engineering mode where you can correct that, but I don't know if the new style radios are gonna have that option. I think eventually that will be removed completely. I hope not, but I kind of have a suspicion that they're going to do something like that. So that's what we got right now, about 100 right here. Let me modulate this. So this one's actually not too bad. It's actually better than I've seen for what it is. So, but I will improve it slightly. So, but here's the thing, when you turn the power down, so what we'll do here is we'll turn the power down to 1. As we can see here, we'll turn it back to 1. Alright, about there. So you're going to go just slightly below 1. So we'll turn this up. Get it close to our 100 mark there. Alright, let me go back into the modulation setting. Alright, so let's take a look here. That's where you start to dip, the modulation starts to dip off. So when you lower that dead key, you lose modulation. So what you have to do is increase it, but you have to have equipment. You can't just yell audio and look at a meter to do that. So these come out really nice for what they are. And you can see that there's still some room. It's a little too much there. So that's about what I would say would be the max. But see where we're starting off there. And then you can see that looks really nice. So these have a very good modulation circuit in them. So, yeah. Alright, so we'll move along here. I just wanted to show that. Okay, this is your high power AM setting. So right at 8. So you're going to have 1 to 8. Alright, so this is your factory. I did lower the dead key down to 8. They're about 12, 13 out of the box. So you can see it's right at 8. So we'll look at that. So it's a little undermodulated. 204 and 392s we're looking right there. So we can give it just a little more modulation. See how that looks. It's looking pretty good right there. So it's better. Yeah, it's looking nice. All right. Let me see here. Let me readjust this. So it's about 200 over there. And then about 404. So yeah, that's probably, let me see. Maybe I can get away with a little bit more. Yeah, that looks like it's okay because it's still nice and rounded and it's not pinched in the middle. So that's probably the best I can do there. But you can see your average, it's pretty much going over to 10. Over here on the 50, you can see it's over 10. And if I turn the peak on, it's about 35 or so. So that's doing really good for you right there. That's probably the most I would recommend going. So next will be sideband. All right, here's your sideband high power. So it's over modulated. As you can see, it's flat topping, and it's doing a lot of power. It's almost 50. So what I'm going to do is adjust that to lower it to make it look better. So we're actually decreasing the power because we want things to look linear and not care about the power. We'll get the power back. We'd rather have power be fluent and linear than be distorted and garbage. So if you want to do power, you should do real power, not flat topping and distorted power. If you take one thing from this video, take that for what it is, I guess. But you know, the clean power will always cut through the dirty power. People will definitely enjoy listening to your nice clean radio and want to talk to you versus the guy that's splattering out tons of power and over modulation and just all kinds of garbage. So you know, people will enjoy listening to your station much more than they would the other guy that's just focusing on power and modulation to the absolute maximum. So I mean, I do push things a little bit, but I push them within the limit of what I see. So if I don't like what I see, if it's starting to flatten off, then it's too much. So you know, we want it to be good, but yet not have that presence of distortion and stuff. So that's looking really good there. So, and now we're doing about 35 or so, which is what they say in the book. So, and I'm assuming we'll probably see over 40 plus anyways with the microphone on the radio. So that's much better. That's what I'm getting at here. You want things to look good. And the only way to really know how they look is to have it on a scope and have a proper two-tone put into the radio. And then at least you know that you have something that's, you know, going to work properly. And anything else you put in line after that, I guess, you know, I mean, it is what it is, I guess, you know. But at least we know that the radio is set up right. Any amplifiers or anything like that, I mean, they're going to change what you see. It's just a fact of the matter. Here's the low power. And it's usually pretty good on low power. So what is this thing doing? I'll turn the peak on for low power. Yeah, it's doing about 2 1/4 on the 5 watts. So that's fine. The low power is always good on these. So next thing we'll do is I'm going to check the receiver and check the S meter and all that good stuff. Actually, Gary, I'm going to hook up your mic here. And I'll just show you the transmit. We'll just finish it all off and then I'll show you the receive and some of the features and stuff really quick. But I just want to make sure the mic is working properly and I'll show you how it's working on the meters and stuff after I put the battery in it. So I'll do that first, then I'll do the receive. Okay, so I got the mic hooked up really quick. I just wanted to show you. Mic gain is all the way up. You can leave it there. Mic type, leave it in dynamic. I have it in noise gate is on. So the only mic you would want to run with this in EL would be even the factory mic that comes with this is a dynamic mic. So I do have a mic here that came with the Aries 2. It is a 4-pin electric condenser mic. That would work with this radio in the EL setting. Everything else, use it in dynamic. Somebody just keyed up on FM. I have my monitor radio on FM, but it seemed like somebody locally just keyed up. I wanted to turn on the noise reduction. So that's the RX noise reduction right there. You can see how much difference that makes. It does take out a lot of noise. So just wanted to show you that. And now I'm going to squelch that so we don't have to listen to that. I have the echo on. I don't have the talk back on. I have the monitor icon here on. So 1, 1, 2. Check, check. 1, yeah. 1, 1, 2. So it's modulating just fine, and the echo is working. So a little bit of feedback. Sorry about that. So I'll turn the talk back on, show you that that works. I'll turn it up to about, I don't know, here and just see what happens. Let me turn that volume down on that radio. 1, let's see. 1, 1, 2. Check, check. There we go. So there's our talk back. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Could probably turn it up more. I turn the mic up more. 1, 1, 2. There we go. So the echo is working fine. The talkback's working. I haven't done the software yet. So the beep that's in here, this is what they sound like from the factory. Actually, you can't hear it unless I turn on the beep function. It's kind of a weird beep. It's really like long. So I'll put the software in. I'll have kind of the beep like the HR2510. So, all right, that's FM. I'm gonna shut this echo off. Shut this talk back off. And then we'll go over to the meter. I'll show you the rest. So we'll do AM. This is RF power all the way up right here. Let me turn on my peak. So we got 50 right there. So an 8-watt dead key. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. So it swings over 50. It's probably like 55, something like that. It's not much more. So, but that's giving you some kind of idea right there what we're doing. All right. This is going to be all the way down right here. Whoop, put my finger in front of the camera. Sorry. I'm using the left hand with the camera, and I'm right-handed, so sometimes things don't work out so well. So here's the low power, and it's kind of all over the place as expected, but it does have a lot of modulation. So you know what you're going to see there is you know, it's going to swing quite a bit from a really low amount. So the only other thing I forgot to show you is the spectrum analyzer. So let me put that tone back in there, and I'll show you that when we're done here. So this is lower side. Turn the RF power all the way up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about 50. Between 45 and 50 all the way up. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Hello. And then if you turn it down, the radio will do significantly less power the more you turn this back. So we can just turn it to like here just to see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it does much less. You know, you can use, you know, whatever you want, I guess, with this radio on sideband. The problem is going to be on AM. There's still a lot of forward power even with that low dead key. So, you know, you run the risk of, you know, if you want to try to run something small, you might burn it up. That's the only thing I would caution anyone. You know, everybody wants a high level of modulation, but they still want to try to run something small, like linear amplifier wise, and you can't do both. So The only way you could possibly run something small with this on AM would be just take down the AM mod, which then people wouldn't say you sound good. So it's kind of, you know, you have to pick your battle there. So this is a higher powered radio anyways, like 50 watts. So I mean, there's really, from my opinion, no point to try to run like a 203 or something with this radio. The radio is already doing 50, so you're better off looking, I guess, if you're gonna try to run something bigger. I mean, if it were me, which I don't run stuff, but if I was going to run something, I would go straight to like the 703, or I would look for something like transistorized, something like, I don't know, a 4 transistor or something. And yeah, you might not be hitting it the hardest, but I mean, you're still going to do a good amount of power even with the 50 watt drive out of the radio. So that's the only thing I would say. I'm not much of an amp guy, so I would just, word of caution for anyone, don't try to use like a 203 with a radio like this. It's not going to work out well. And I only say that because of the AM factor. FM and sideband, sure. I mean, if you want to run one, you can, because you can fully adjust your RF down. You know, that 203 can handle 10 watts in on FM. It'll take it. It's not really good for it, but it is rated for it, and it will take it. So you probably don't want to do it for long because you'll really heat that sucker up. But AM, it's totally different. And that's the problem with some of those RM amps, is they don't give you a rating for AM. So you have to be cautious. Even like the 7 or the 503s and stuff. I mean, you just have to be careful. I mean, if your radio is like cranked to the max on modulation and it's flat topping and all that stuff, then chances are you're probably overdriving the MOSFETs and even like the 503s and stuff. So I mean, just use caution, and you know, don't always trust, you know, a watt meter that doesn't have a true peak reading circuit. So those are my 2 things I could say that I would stress the most. Otherwise, just run the radio, and if you're getting the radio from me, you shouldn't have no problems. It's going to sound good and it's going to perform good, and chances are with the right skip and propagation, you're not going to need the amp anyways. You're still going to be able to talk the skip that you want and everything else just with the radio. All right, Gary, I did the software, so now I can show you the beep. So that's what we got there. Now I'm gonna shut that off. All right, and you have all your, it'll go up to 605, and let me see here. This one will go up to 505. So there you go. And then also, I think on the bottom, yeah, it'll cover 12 meter band too. So you got all your bases are covered there. That's what I do in the programming with the computer. So I'm going to show you on the spectrum analyzer really quick. Now I forgot to show that earlier. All right, so when you key up, it's going to show you your SWR right there. If you don't like that, there's a function in the menu to switch that. So if you don't like that, you can leave it on frequency, or you can actually even have it show, I think, voltage or something too. But I like it to show that, or without. It really doesn't matter to me. I always monitor my station SWR anyway, so I really don't need to see it on the radio. But this is the AM high power again, just for your reference there. So there it is. And then up here, this is 75 megahertz span right here. So this channel 20, that big spike. And then the little one is the second. So when we modulate it, you can see it's really good. So now I'm going to go into span, and we're going to span this down some. Actually, we just lost our center. Okay, so this is what? 10 megahertz span right here. So looking good. Okay, and then I'm going to 5 megahertz span. There. And then, did I show you, I don't know if I showed you 30, actually 20. I think I showed this already, I'm not sure. Yeah. That's good. And then we'll go into the kilohertz. Here's the 20 kilohertz like I like to show right here. So this is one channel each way. Let me hit my button here. Here you go. So that's your high power right there. So it's really clean all the way around. Really nice. And if I lower the power, see everything lowers down. So let me recalibrate everything. All right, so that's your low power again right there. RF power is all the way down. 1 watt or so. There's the scope. There's the modulated signal. And then up there, it's carrier and modulation. So it's really good. You should have no problems there. Really nice, clean radio. The only thing left to do is show you the receiver. So let me show you that. Okay, I'll see if I can let you hear it really quick. This is AM. The mic is turned way down. So right here's the speaker. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your AM modulation right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. So it sounds pretty good to me. It sounds nice and clean and clear. Check 1, 2. Of course, you know, it can get louder, but all it's going to do is feedback. So that's AM. I'll try to show you sideband too. Before I show you sideband, I just wanted to show you, so you have these filter settings on this icon. So you can have a very narrow bassy sound, a little bit mid, or 3.6K. I like to run it at 3.6K. I like to hear everything. I like to hear the high emphasis of everybody's audio and stuff too. So that's how I like to run it. Generally, when you listen to it like that, in close proximity like this, it will feedback slightly just because it's a more higher sound, sound level, 3.6. If I listen to it down here, you can hear it's much more bassier. So let's try to listen to it there first and just see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. 1, 2. So you can just hear the bassness, more bass. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2. So it's all about how the receiver sounds too. 2.8, kind of middle. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. 1, 2. And then 3.6. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. 1, 2. So usually, if you really want to cut through the pile and all that stuff, especially on SSB, you want to run, on a radio that has the capability, of course, to do that. You want to run a higher, bandwidth, like a 3.6 or something would be killer for SSB. So, I mean, these radios sound really good at listening to it like that. So if someone has like an HF rig, they're going to be able to pick up some of your audio characteristics much better than someone just running like a standard CB or something like that. So, you may not, if you just got a buddy or something that's listening to like this radio on like a Cobra 148 or something, he may not get the full response of the modulation like someone would on an HF radio. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that you can manipulate how the radio sounds just by messing with the RX filter settings on a radio like that. So what was I going to show you now? This video's gotten really long, so I got to show you the receiver, and that's going to be it. So we'll do that next. Okay, Gary, here's your S9. This is AM. It's also calibrated for FM, but I'm going to save a little time and not show that. So this is AM right there. No noise blanket or any of that stuff is on right now. So this is what we got up here. It's negative 67 with the attenuator right there sticking out of the device. So you can see the AM levels at 30%. Everything is there. Might as well check the sensitivity now. So we'll just start lowering down the sensitivity, and we'll look for it to stop around 12 or so. So we'll do that next. You can hear it. So I got the tone is on. So that way we can just listen as we go. Whoa, too far. Let me see here. What the heck is that? Let me make sure that the squelch was up. There we go. That's the problem there. I'm like, why are we cutting out? Alright, so let's see. It looks like it's about 114.2. So you can see right there. So that would be 114.2. which is good. It's probably more like 114.1 when I look at it a little bit closer, but that's really good nonetheless. So no problems on receive. All right, here's your S9 for single sideband. So we're on lower sideband right now, so that's good. And -67. So I'm going to adjust this down for sensitivity. (128.2). So there you go. Really good. So let's unplug it and listen to it. You can hear it. It's nice and loud. So that's pretty much it, Gary. It's probably a lot more than you wanted to see, but sometimes I get carried away talking about useless things, about my opinions on amps and all that stuff, and so apologize if I bored everybody, but I get asked questions a lot about amps, so sometimes it's easier just to talk about it than it is to respond accordingly to each individual. If you watch a lot of the videos, a lot of the stuff that I get asked, sometimes I just talk about it because it's been on my mind and stuff. So that's why I said what I said. The radio is ready to go, so I'm gonna get it boxed up for you, and hopefully it'll ship out today because UPS is coming. Depending on where you are in Ohio, it may actually arrive to you tomorrow. So sometimes with ground UPS, they come the next day, depending. If you're in the northern part of Ohio, it's usually the next day. I don't know exactly where the cutoff is, but it's usually somewhere, I would say Toledo area south. Maybe it cuts off, I'm not sure. But I know from Toledo to where I'm at in Michigan, it's usually always the next day. So thanks a lot, Gary. I hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to leave the battery in the mic for you. That way I don't have to take one out and all that. I did fully tighten this just to test the mic. I don't recommend fully tightening it. I'm actually going to loosen it just a little bit. It definitely holds the back on just fine without it being, clamped all the way in. But just, know that, once it's screwed in somewhat, it's not going to come off. But I always fully screw those in just to test them, because there have been a few where I had to readjust that plate in there to correct the issue of if the little screw touches the board under that plate, it can cause the modulation to cut out. So that is addressed, and I see no problems with it. The only other thing to cover with this one is they are 4-pin radios, but what you need to know is on any microphone that you use, you should never have a wire soldered to the number 4 wire. So the number 4 wire would be up on the top left here, and this is the DX model mic. They made this mic specially for this radio, so it doesn't have the wire there, so you never have to worry with this mic. But if you use anything else, just be careful. Or like a couple of my customers did, they got themselves like a 4-pin mic adapter, and at the end, actually on the 4-pin mic adapter, the one that plugs into the radio, they just remove that 4th wire off right there. Then you can leave your mic wired 4-pin standard if you want to, and use any mic you want. So it's just whatever connects into the radio, make sure there's no wire on that position number 4, and you'll be fine. All right, Gary, thanks a lot. 7-3 to you. Thanks for watching, everybody, if you made it this far.